Huntsbrook Incorporated provides a family of software applications known as Little Apps. Little Apps are single-file programs that are not installed, but simply copied. We demonstrate the utility of the Little Apps ShoeBox Designer and Divider Designer by building a drawer box design made from clear plexiglass. To make the drawer box, we use two different programs, the Divider Designer and the Box Designer. Here we have the Divider Designer. We've already set up our cells. We set the width of the cells to fit a small paint bottle. You can see that across this top row. The other rows were wider because we'll be putting paintbrushes and miscellaneous items there. If we look at the controls, we can see that this is a 3-cell by 11-cell grid. We also unlock the top and bottom heights, particularly for the finger slots. You can see these slots are higher than these. These lower slots in the bottom pieces will be used to hold the paintbrushes. Also, we're using a thin plexiglass material that is 0.093 inches thick. So basically we went through and made this, and so let's see what we do. We formed our divider, and we're going to use the outside dimensions to form the base of a box, that's the drawer, and then to encase the drawer we're going to do a separate box. And so let's move on to the next program. This is the base, and in this case the base is made like any base. Where we took the inside dimensions to be basically the outside dimensions of our divider. We're using the 0.093 inch thick plexiglass, and everything else is pretty much the same as any box. We're not going to do anything with the lid though, so this will be our drawer. Okay, so standard there. Now, thing about this is we're going to end up adding a width, and let's look at the part that holds the drawer. This would be considered the bottom in this case, but let's open up the, well, we'll call it the sleeve of the drawer. And if you want to get a good view of the sleeve, you can look at the artwork. And so here it's unusual. Here's the base, this small base, that's basically that would be the top of the lid, and then these long sides, and that's going to act as the sleeve that our drawer goes into. Now, we did some things differently in the sleeve. One thing is in our inside dimensions for the base, it was 12.3. We actually added a little extra here, so we want the drawer to go all the way into the sleeve, so we added the thickness of the material, which is 0.093. We also went ahead and did finger slots on all of these. The only ones we really need though are in these side edges, not the top or bottom of the sleeve. So what we did is when we went to the laser cutter interface software, we clicked this, which is a separate vector, and deleted it on the sleeve section, and we left it on the sides. And you'll see that when we make the sleeve for the box. And so we go ahead and we just make these lid sections, remembering to delete this finger slot here on the wide section, and that's how we made it. An upfront warning about working with plexiglass in general is, first off, it smells. It seems like no matter how well we vented or filtered, you always have that burnt plexiglass smell. The glue that you use is also something that is basically hazardous, so you got to be really careful. You want to vent well, that's the key. The glue is also flammable, so have a fire extinguisher ready. This is something you don't want to just do in a closed room. It's not healthy. There's all kinds of bad things about this, but we are using very small amounts, and if you know what you're doing, it can be safe. But again, safety first when it comes to these solvents, and also venting any of the cutting of plexiglass. Okay, we've cut our plastic pieces. We assemble the box base, which is the drawer, and the box lid, which is effectively the sleeve around the drawer. This material is 0.093 inches thick. It's tricky to work with, and it's one of the reasons we're doing this is to see what that involves. One of the issues is just clamping things together. We're using tape here, but if we were doing multiple units like this, we'd build a jig. The key here is you got to keep the glue away from like the tape or a clamping mechanism that you'd use. When you apply the glue, it's very thin and it seeps into the joints. Now, most people use methylene chloride, and that's what we'd recommend to use for plastic. We're kind of old school, and we have some lacquer thinner, which is basically acetone. So we're using that in a glass eyedropper. Either way, the way these things work is they melt the plastic. So be careful of what you use to put it in. Don't make sure that whatever you use in a syringe or an eyedropper, that it doesn't melt that too. And it can also add discoloration and things like that. There's a skill to this. You want to apply it just enough, and you can usually see when it seeps. The trick here, though, is to have these joints lined up. It's particularly difficult with this thin plastic. The other thing we're doing is you'll see us tilt the box, and that helps a lot because you're trying not to let the glue settle on the surface of the plastic. And it does dry fast or solidify fast, but you may have to hold it. In this case, since we're just using tape, I had to go in and repeatedly hold it together until the solvent dissipated. Okay, we've cut our divider pieces. We have 2 long pieces and 10 cross pieces. As you recall, they were measured to fit these paint bottles, and have some width here for paint brushes and miscellaneous articles that you want to put in this. Let's assemble these, and since these are the top pieces and we have a lot of bottoms, we'll assemble it upside down. Okay, so what we did is we made our boxes, and to make a drawer box, you actually make 2 boxes. The first one is just a conventional shoebox base. You don't make the lid. We made the base simply by using the outer dimensions of the divider. And then to make a drawer, what we have to do is really orientate this up and make another box that has a lid that extends all the way down. And that's what this is. We put finger slots here, and it comes out on all 4. We remove the finger slot on the top and bottom because you don't need it. We remove that simply in the laser program by clicking and deleting those slots. So this lid is made such that the height is the length of our base inside plus 1 thickness, because normally a base in this case wouldn't have a top on it, so we had to add in a little thickness. And so after assembling these, they slide into each other and they match over here, and you have the finger slots in the right place to remove them. And there is our paint box. we left a little room in these other things for things you never expect to put in there. And in this case, I threw in an extra paint that I had.